Are you ready to transform your normal e-commerce business into one that experiences exponential growth year after year using online advertising? If so, this show is for you. Me and my guests will show you how you too can grow your e-commerce business to 7 or even 8 figures so you can go on more luxurious vacations, spoil yourself and your family, say yes to more opportunities, and become financially free so you never have to worry about money again. Welcome to the E-commerce Performance Marketing Show. Hey, how's it going, guys? Josh Marsden here, host of the Ecom Performance Marketing Show. I have a legend in conversion optimization here. I have Justin Christianson of Conversion Fanatics. He's a self-proclaimed numbers junkie and a digital marketing veteran. He's a father, husband, and #1 best-selling author of the book, Conversion Fanatic, How to Double Your Customer Sales and Profits with A/B Testing. He is also the co-founder and president of Conversion Fanatics, a full-service conversion rate optimization company, helping companies like Burt's Bees, Dr. Axe, and many others improve their results. So there's going to be an incredible amount of value delivered on today's episode. So thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for watching this or listening to this. Justin, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. How you been?
Good. It's been
good.
Been a ride for sure.
2020 has been a ride for a lot of people. Absolutely, for all of us.
I think that's kind of an understatement of the year. We've seen so many highs and so many lows in the last 4 months or so, or 5 months.
Yep.
But it's been fun.
Yeah.
It's been fun.
Yeah. It's been, building character, I think it's helped us all kind of focus a bit. There's been some good out of it, but yeah, it's definitely been obviously challenging and stressful for all of us, all around the world. Absolutely.
Yeah. It's been a learning curve. I've seen, companies absolutely destroy their highest ever record months. And I've seen companies lose 90% of their revenue.
Wow.
In the last, it's been crazy, and it's been a whirlwind even for us as a company too. So,
Yep.
But what doesn't kill us makes us stronger, I guess. And
absolutely.
The unknowns of what is today's world. But let's
Yep, I hear you, man. I hear you. Yeah, our business has been very, very solid, stable, successful all year. Here in August, we've had a little bit of stress, but we'll bounce back from it. Just like what you've done as well with your company and everything you've been going through here in 2020. But let's talk about Justin. Like, how did you get started, like, in e-commerce? So this way the audience can get to know your origin story here.
So I started. I've been doing this almost 20 years, which is kind of crazy. I got started in my early 20s. I'm older than I look, contrary to what people ask. And just found internet marketing, affiliate marketing way early on. E-commerce wasn't even a thing. Amazon didn't even exist. You just really didn't buy a whole lot. You still went to Walmart and Target as opposed to just doing a quick search and shopping on Google Shopping or Amazon. But found affiliate marketing, went up the ranks through that, became partners on a company. We grew that company to about $10 million in revenue. Mm-hmm. I sold it back. It's I think 11 years ago now. Sold it back to my business partners and kind of went on the journey of private consulting based on some of the information that I published there. Mm-hmm. I'd always been a split tester. I'd always been, change this button, change this image and see which performs better. And the psychology of why people did that always fascinated me. And I had published some information on it, and just basically out of demand, just started doing it, and then found e-commerce, and that started growing as a market, and more companies came to us like looking for that versus the typical direct response funnel. Mm-hmm. Side of things is where I kind of got my start. The typical lead form opt-in page, sales, mm-hmm. long form sales page type scenario that I was used to optimizing. Yeah. And now we branched off into omni-channel type scenarios and just kind of adapted and grown and from there. And that was, with that, Conversion Fanatics was born 6.5 years or so ago. Nice. I guess we've been around.
2014?
Yeah, 2014.
Okay.
I think March 14, I think, is when we officially started.
It's funny. My date of my business starting is like 1 year exactly, I think, prior. I think mine's the 13th, not the 14th, but still, it's really close.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, and we had, it was weird because I was doing it separately on my own, and I had, I don't know, 10 or so clients on my own with just me and a designer, just kind of doing things the hard way. And then my business partner now, he had a small agency doing the same thing, but he had a small team, and he was very much systems oriented, and we had known each other forever. He was one of the first people that I met when I moved to Austin in 2007, I think. So we just kind of partnered up and grown it from there. And we've, grown it into a solid little company that's got some amazing staff, and we get to help some amazing companies. But yeah, I mean, since then, I think we probably helped.
Dr. X. Big names there.
I mean, we're talking, I'm starting with NBC Sports next week. We've got some cool things in the works that, some of the biggest brands in the country,
it's exciting.
I don't typically name names and stuff, and they're, we get to see behind the scenes of a lot of cool stuff, and just see these brands. One of our clients is in position to IPO here soon. Massive growth. We've got, it's been an incredible journey, and luckily we get to see a lot of cool different things that we can apply to multiple different businesses, and kind of strategies and execution and how we approach conversion optimization. We get to learn very quickly. And I think that's really what's helped us, and just kind of sticking to our roots and our nature, and just kind of standing firm in what we believe in, but using that to kind of evolve it slowly, has helped us grow. And it's been a fun 6 or so years. And, I think we've helped 250 plus companies now.
Nice.
And growing. We launch 50 plus split tests new split tests every single week. We probably got 200 plus split tests running at any given time. It's pretty incredible to see the amount of data that we get to pour through here.
Yes, it's a lot for sure. You definitely have to have a good staff and good processes to be able to manage and maintain all that amongst, all the clients that your company is managing. For those that are newer to e-commerce, can you just explain kind of a basic definition of what conversion rate optimization is and what it means?
Yeah. So first, conversion rate in and of itself is a very relative number. So many people will log into Shopify and they'll immediately see their dashboard and they'll say, my conversion rate's down. They'll see that wonderful percentage, comparing whatever date range. That number is the bane of my existence because it's such a loaded metric, the way that they report it. And I very rarely pay attention to it because it's a very blended average of what Shopify is performing. And then they go a step further and they compare it to your market, or your category. You're underperforming or you're overperforming, or, you're doing a great job. That's completely bunk and BS too. But so conversion rate optimization in and of itself is really the understanding of the visitor behavior on site. So where are the visitors at? Where are they going? Where are they falling off? What can we add or remove to alleviate friction? What do they care about the most is really what we're trying to understand, because as marketers, we tend to not see necessarily, or we tend to lean towards assumptions, or I think it should be this, or I think it should be that. And at the end of the day, we're not the deciding factor. So the business, the people that are coming to our website that are going to exchange money for our goods or services are the catalysts. So conversion rate optimization is really that journey of holding those visitors by the hand, leading them down the path of least resistance to the end goal. So how can we get the visitors engaged? I look at it kind of threefold, or on several levels. When they land on a site, how can I get them engaged in that shopping experience as quickly as possible and help them find what they're looking for and then convince them that they need to buy that product. And conversion rate falls in there somewhere. But it's really more so engagement. It's micro commitments like add to cart rate and abandoned cart rate, abandoned checkout. It's engagement on site, time on site, number of pages per session. It's mobile versus desktop and new versus returning and sources and all of the things. And we help kind of make sense of that for our clients and help them test those assumptions that they might have about their marketing message. And really help them. And I look at more so the scalability of the business rather than did the button color raise or lower my conversion rate. And really conversion rate optimization is just answering the question why. So why is certain things happening? And we prove or disprove it with split testing. Where so many people fall short and when they hear the word conversion rate optimization, they immediately think split testing. But they're two separate things. Split testing is just the vehicle at which we use to prove that we're right or not. You know, and I just look for that long-term scalability. I was just actually on a call a little bit ago with one of our clients. And, you know, when we started back in March, you know, they had a conversion rate of, 1.7%. But I look at it it's like, okay, big deal. He said, we just need to get to 2%. Well, right now, the last 30 days, we're at 2.6%. But the revenue's up like 28%. And the transactions are way up and average order value's up and all of those other metrics. That conversion rate, I wouldn't care less even at 1.7% still, as long as those revenue numbers are going. If we can mitigate that downside as they scale, we're in really good shape. So
for sure.
Really, it's just user experience, user interface optimization is really what it is. And we try to,
I love your thorough representation. Like, what I really appreciate hearing about what you just said is that, and how audiences are going to be able to take what you just said is they're going to think of conversion rate optimization as all the inputs and all the milestones that lead to the overall conversion rate optimization. Because everything you just said was basically a summary of that. And that's what someone needs to focus on if they want to get the best possible results, in their store. I'd love if we could maybe even talk about this client you just brought up. I know you can't mention specifics and that's totally fine. But if you could maybe mention maybe 3 of the wins and what led to those wins with your work from your company, I think that would provide a tremendous amount of value, to the audience.
I'm going to actually pull it up in my other screen here. And then, cause I was just going over it with their CMO.
Sounds good.
So we started in mid-March or so, and we ran about, I think we're on test like 40, give or take, a little bit more, probably 55 since then. But some of the things, just to give you an idea. So when I come in and I approach a business, I look at the main site areas of an e-commerce store. I'm going to look at, you've got your homepage, you've got your collections pages, you've got your product pages, you've got your cart and your checkout. Shopify, you can sometimes just pull checkout completely out of it, unless they're on Shopify Plus or using something like CartHook or some secondary app. So I look at those main site areas. So I want to go in and I want to blanket that site, get a test going on every one of those steps. And we kind of know where to start. Usually it's mobile first. 70+% of traffic right now is mobile. So I try to blanket the site. Like the first one, we ran a site wide. So for an example is they had a sliding cart. So when you added a cart, the cart slid out from the side. We just said, let's skip that, test skipping that and going directly to a cart page, which gives us more real estate. More real estate we have, the more we can justify the sale. You can't fit very much in just a little drawer in the side of a window, specifically on mobile when it takes up the entire screen or at least 3/4 of the screen. So we just tested that. And then we moved on to a carousel redesign on a product page. So trying to maximize above the fold on mobile. Usually they'll come up with a bunch of thumbnails. And it just pushes everything down, like the pricing, the reviews, the add to cart button, the quantity selector, all of those things get pushed way down. So we try to how can we maximize as much in that spot and still make it scrollable and do all of those things.
Okay. And this is all mobile, right?
A top banner on the site. Then we promoted the payment options. So they ran split pay options. So we just highlighted the split pay option.
Okay.
So this particular product's a little bit higher price. So we're looking at $250 average order value, give or take.
Okay.
So a little bit more than, your typical $60 average-ish e-com store.
Yep.
So split pay was a big one. So we went down that rabbit hole. And then we hit so we promoted different redesigns and structures and where to position in this case, it was Afterpay. So we put Afterpay on the checkout and on the cart and said, hey, you can split your payment, and how we positioned it versus the full price and the credit card icons. And we did a bunch of iterations of that to really understand what drove the audience. And out of that, we ended up with a 22% win improvement out of that cycle. Sometimes you don't win the first time. In fact, that first site slide cart versus cart page actually hurt conversions by 12%. So we just never know. The carousel redesign saw 28% improvement from product page ads. So our product page sales. So landing from the product page on. Then from there, we were in the midst of COVID. So this is March, when everything started. So everybody was uncertain. Everybody was unsure. So we just set the expectation, we went heavy on order by, get it by timers. So setting the expectation of when you're going to get your order, when you order, and hey, we're shipping, we're, in stock, really leaning into that uncertainty that everybody had, and hey, it's safe. We're taking extra precautions. We went down that rabbit hole. So we really played on a lot of those angles. And then now we're kind of stepping back to more tests and benefit statements. And I was looking, the ones we started one today, just testing some call to action copy. So just taking a step back, going very incremental. And then we just started where the heck is that at? There it is. Some trust icons and elements that are on checkout. So we're still kind of blanketing the site. But again, trying to see how we can push those visitors. And what happens is there's only so many things you can test. So, and we live in a ever revolving cycle. So there's still clients of ours that we're seeing improvement for 4.5 years later, that we just keep evolving the brand and leveling up because the buying habits change and the inputs change and all of the, the methods to the madness all kind of stay the same. But what worked 6 months ago might not work today, and vice versa. So we always go back and retest and iterate based on those interactions. And then it kind of evolves as the brand changes and grows and scales. And then you end up with a new website and you end up with new elements of pages. And it gets fun at that point. But we just try to blanket and really try to put those main inputs and those leverage points in there. So payment options and trust and security and expectations and usability are all things that we try to do. Sometimes we'll go in and we'll just shrink the hero image on the homepage is a quick test, because it brings up the products below it. Sometimes we'll just move the best sellers up below the hero image.
Nice.
Sometimes just moving the add to cart button or making it bigger, we'll do something, but we always try to understand why we're doing it.
And this doesn't require a lot of these tests you're mentioning doesn't require high level web development, HTML, CSS work. Some do, but most of them don't, right?
We have developers do all of our stuff, but just because we have secondary tracking and we probably make it more complex than it needs to be, because the more data points I have, the better I can understand. So, multiple goals and revenue and things, but some of it's as simple as a button label change.
Right.
Which is winning right now on this particular client. 12% improvement after 100, and I think it's showing a 22% RPV improvement. And we changed 2 words.
Messaging matters.
It is. So, yeah, I mean, for the most part, I make it sound complicated, but it's not. In the grand scheme of things, it can get complicated, but it's more so the order in which you test and how you test.
Yeah.
That makes up the madness. I don't have a fancy framework. I don't overcomplicate it from that standpoint.
Yep.
And if it was up to me, I'd just test copy all day. But our clients don't like that. They want pretty and fancy and big. And big and fancy and pretty doesn't win. And we help our clients understand that. I just got off a call right before we hopped on here with a company like, we're retheming our whole entire store. I'm like, why? Are you retheming it because you think it looks better or because you're basing it on data? And they're like, because it looks better. I was like, well, it doesn't look better.
That's not a reason.
Your analytics say, I mean, this is a very small store. They're only doing, 5 sales a day.
Okay.
But I was like, you have solid conversion rate. Your cost per acquisition is low. You're almost profitable on your ad spend. Why are you repositioning? Like, I don't get it. So
makes sense.
I think because we live in the world that everything's easy, that we can just install an app, or we can, because there's a Shopify app for everything. Kind of like there's an app for that, the Apple's thing, but Shopify's getting to be that way.
Yep.
And it's very easy for us to go into the theme editor and, look, fancy, push the button, publish, and, now we broke 15 things.
I think the takeaway from that too is that, you never want to make a decision in your e-commerce store based off of anything but data, because, just because in that example, if she would have followed through with it without consulting with you, that could have caused the store to actually decrease in its performance, which would have obviously impacted the company greatly. So that's the huge takeaway there is never to make decisions unless you're making decisions off of logic and data.
Well, that's the thing is I'll get companies come to me. It's like, we just redesigned the site 2 months ago and our conversion rate's terrible. It's like, well, did you base that on anything, or did you just push go? Or did you just hire a design firm that didn't base any of it on data?
Yep.
And it's usually they hired a design firm and our CEO thought it looked better.
Yeah.
And we're not talking small companies either. I've got clients that are doing $6 million a month right now, and they still make changes like that. They're like, I think it looks better. I'm like, well, I just tested it and it didn't. So, and even looking at this store, I'm looking at it on the separate monitor. We had 6 tests in a row where it had negative improvement. Mm-hmm. So, you lose. And if you're just making changes because you think it looks better, you don't know why, or you don't know how much it's actually making the changes.
Yeah.
They just assume it's going to work better. And that growth hacking mentality can get you so far.
Right.
But I see so many companies go out of business or lose their businesses or lose their revenue, or, a company, just an example, not too long ago, I get to see access to a lot of things. I just happened to look at get an email of their report. They were going to hire us 3 months ago, and they were cranking like 25, 30 grand a day in sales. They had almost no sales in the last 7 days. So because they're good in that growth hack mentality, they just think like, hey, we found a niche, and everybody's teaching it, in Ecom, all the guys to the BizOp world are teaching it. Just find a niche product, just create a, whatever. And they're not building a brand. They're not building a sustainable, scalable business that they could eventually sell one day. They're just turning and burning and tricks, gimmicks, tactics that are, not going to last. And I always tell people, I can improve your conversion rate. I'll just throw a timer on something and I'll improve your conversion rate, but it's not going to be what you want at the end of the day.
Well, that's why, companies need to hire the experts like yourself. So, I want to be respectful of your time. I know we're getting to the end here. So everything you just went over, there's a lot of significant value, a lot of takeaways there. I mean, like we talked about earlier about how to think about conversion rate optimization. What are those inputs and what are those milestones, those micro conversions essentially that a store owner can really focus on to get a better overall conversion. But also, I love how you mentioned more than just store conversion. You mentioned essentially revenue optimization and, really seeing average order value increase, on the back end by making some tests that make sense, and then making tests off of logic. That's a huge takeaway, just a very fundamental takeaway. But I know there's a lot of business owners that are watching this or listening to this that they probably have been guilty of making changes off of feel. I know I have.
I'm guilty of it too, and I do this for a living.
Right. Right.
I have my own e-commerce store, and I have my own e-commerce business, and sometimes I'm like, we'll just change that. I'm like, because I'm too lazy to set up the split test. But it's you can get so far with it, but it's the businesses that I see that are really thriving, that are really growing, that are setting records, are the ones that are going slower. Believe it or not, it's go slow to go fast. And I'm not. Companies come to me all the time. They're like, "What do you mean you only ran 7 split tests last month?" I'm like, "Yeah, but we saw the X, Y, and Z result." They think that more, faster, bigger, better is going to get them more results, but I'm going to win more and learn more in the less amount of tests that I run because they're more strategic, they're more high leverage. Just companies just need to slow down. Stop pushing install on the apps. And just, if my number one thing that I always tell people is just simplify it.
Yeah. I mean, the motivation's right. E-commerce business owners, they're trying to hack their way to success. They install an app, think it's going to do something great for them, or they make a small change, to their site. And the motivation's great, but do it the right way, do it based off of data. Like you said, take it slow, and this way you grow faster that way. And, let data, lead you to what changes you need to make on your sites. I think that's probably arguably the biggest mindset takeaway from this episode. I want to, I mean,
I was going to add a final thought.
Go ahead, add something to it. Go ahead, by all means.
It literally is. So data tells a story. As marketers, particularly if you're an owner, operator, or an executive, or whatever at an e-commerce business, you get blind. You're constantly seeing your marketing message. You're constantly seeing your website. You're constantly seeing all of the things that you fail to understand what the data is actually telling you or what the visitors are telling you. So your data paints a picture, tells a story of where those visitors are at and what they actually care about the most. It's not as black and white as, hey, my conversion rate's down today, what happens? Facebook can have a hiccup today and your return on ad spend is 0.3% when it's normally 1.3%. So it's those ups and downs, fluctuations that you need to pay attention to and look at the bigger picture versus looking at minute by minute. Slow down, pay attention to the data, let it tell you that story that you're looking for, and it'll lead you way farther than any other thing that I've ever seen in my crazy long career of digital marketing.
Yeah. Do you have some resources that you recommend to the audience that they can dive into and check out to get better at this aspect in their business? Yeah.
I mean, so my book is one.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Yep.
It's on Amazon.
Got to pick up a copy of Conversion Fanatic. I've read it. It's a great book.
Yeah, it's on. I wrote it to be very timeless. So I picked it up actually the other day and started thumbing through it. And I'm like, oh, that's actually pretty good. Can't believe I wrote that. But that's a good one. Our blog has a bunch of case studies and examples on it too. We haven't updated it in a long time. We've been so in the weeds with clients. I literally wrote a post on there the other day that said, the reason why we haven't updated it is because not that we don't have stuff to update. I just don't have time to write long articles anymore.
Yeah.
And then I've got a couple examples our 24-point conversion checklist. And I've got a couple other resources I'll ping you, and then you can just tag it in the show notes or whatever.
Please. Yes, that'd be great.
Couple downloads there. And then, we just got kind of a checklist of what we look for in that. So that should help.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, really, we just ask yourself why. Why something's happening, and then just prove it with a split test, and then iterate based on that data.
Yep.
Obviously, there is a science to it. There is some knowledge base that you have to have behind it to interpret that data, but for the most part, it's pretty easy to see if it helped or hurt.
Yeah. Well, great. Thanks, Justin. Yeah, and guys, definitely, if you're watching this from our blog, definitely click on the links below to get access to the resources that Justin just mentioned. Well, Justin, this is the last part of the interview for the show. So we go into a bonus round. It's a fun kind of ending to the episode where we put guests on the spot where they have to answer each of these questions with only one word. That's the challenge. Ooh. Yes. So are you ready?
Did we do this on one of the boot camp things?
No, this is unique. We've done maybe something similar, but this is definitely unique.
All right.
Okay.
Let's see. What do you got?
What caused your biggest e-com success to date?
Biggest e-commerce success. Persistence.
Okay. All right. And then what advice do you have for other e-com business owners?
Ask.
Ask, you said?
Ask.
Can you elaborate on that? Because that sounds like a very unique answer. So I'd love to hear what the why is behind that.
That's really it, is ask why, is really probably expansion of it. What we just got done talking about is companies don't ask enough questions of anything. And literally that's the most powerful question. I question things constantly, all day, every day. And that's literally what I've based my entire career on.
Right on. I can see how that parlays into, conversion rate optimization and optimizing the user experience. Like, why is someone bouncing from the page? Why is someone adding to cart and not following through with their order? Why is someone seeing the upsell page and not taking advantage of it? Why
are they clicking on this and not that? Or, why are they playing the video and not? It's literally endless.
Yes, I love that. How would you describe yourself?
Motivated.
Okay. And then what do you see in your future?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Especially in one word.
What do I see in my future in one word? Oh man. I can't say success or anything like that because I've got so many successes in a lot of ways, So maybe I'll say relaxation. So me slowing down a little bit.
Hey, it sounds like you deserve it. 20 years, so that's a long time. And I'm sure you've, worked your butt off to get to where you're at today. So it sounds like you can use some of that.
I still do. I'm a workaholic. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie.
No, I think we all are. And I think that's part of our DNA of being an entrepreneur. You have to love the work. You have to love working. So, and hustling, because there's a lot of it when you're an entrepreneur.
There is, for sure.
Yep, absolutely. Well, Justin, thank you so much for being on the show. How can the audience find out more about you, your company? How can they possibly even inquire about becoming a client? What are the best next steps for people to take if they'd like to do so?
Just go to conversionfanatics.com. It is the best way. I'm on social for the most part, most active on Facebook probably. But you can find me too at onespotsocial.com/Justin Christianson, all one word. That pretty much has all the links to all the things. I'm available and I'm out there. So, and if anybody ever has any questions about anything, you can feel free to email me. You can ask questions. You can find me on social. I'm usually pretty giving with my knowledge that I've had, gained over the years. And if I can't help, I pretty much have somebody likely that can. So
Awesome.
I'm happy to help in any way that I possibly can.
Well, appreciate it. I appreciate it. We're helping a lot of people by being on this episode, so thank you so much for being a guest. Guys, definitely go to onespotsocial.com and look up Justin Christianson using the search. This way you can find him and you can shoot him an email. You can contact his company. You can go to his website, get in touch with him on social media, whatever you prefer. But this way you can link up with one of the best in conversion rate optimization, and you can learn more from him or hire him and his company to help you optimize your store to better results. Thank you so much, Justin, for being on the show. I truly appreciate it, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you for tuning into the e-commerce performance marketing show. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, like, and comment with a timestamp of your favorite part and share it with a friend. Until our next episode, here's to you and the success of your e-commerce business.